It's his sixth surgery in the last 2 months. The tumor keeps coming back. How am I going to pay these hospital bills? I haven't seen him smile even once in the last few days. She hasn't eaten anything. I just want to go home and just go back to the way things were. How many of you have been to a hospital? Every single one of you will visit a hospital either for yourself or to visit a friend or a loved one. In India, a government hospital is visited by 5,000 to 10,000 patients every single day. And there are much more number of patients than the number of beds available. You will see them on the floor, on the staircase, probably anywhere there's space. Now let's come to the doctors. They don't even have time for themselves. How are they going to see so many patients? It's filled with anxious people, not knowing what to do. Imagine anxious parents of children, not knowing what they are going through. Trauma, pain, emotional highs and lows, a complete loss of control of what's happening in the situation or even what's happening to their own bodies. It's the opposite of home, a place that you can never get used to, no matter how many times you go there. People stay in a hospital for sometimes a day, a week, or even months. Imagine being filled with this kind of negativity and this kind of environment. What would that do to your mental health? Is it something we should worry about, especially in India? I mean, we don't see it, so it doesn't exist, right? But there are statistics to show that mental illness is on the rise. But is there something that we can do in the already existing infrastructure that we have that doesn't tax our doctors and nurses any more than they are already? We all know the power of laughter, right? Laughter yoga, laughter therapy, the endorphins, the way it makes you feel, the way when you look at someone and smile, that's all you need, right? There are studies to show that it even aids in recovery, in faster recovery. You'd be surprised to know that when you're a child, you laugh about 150 times a day. But as you grow into an adult, that number reduces to just 15. So it's not surprising to know that in a hospital, that number is 0. How do we get something like laughter into the 4 walls of a hospital? How do we do something that doesn't already exist? How do we create that negative space into something more cheerful? Is it really that important? Is it something that we should invest in? Well, Dr. Patch Adams seemed to think so. You might have heard him from the films, but it's based off on a real person. He's Dr. Hunter Adams. He believed that laughter and love are the 2 things you need to treat a community, especially when it came to mental health. In the 1970s, he started practicing something that we now follow as modern-day hospital clowning. What started off in America has now spread wild around the world. In Europe, in Australia. In fact, there are countries like Israel that offer this as a paramedical course. Yes, you can get a degree to become a hospital clown. Now, what is hospital clowning? No, we're not circus clowns. We're not entertainers. Yes, we do have that red nose, but if you notice closely, we're not wearing as much makeup or not too many elaborate accessories or costumes. What I'd like to think that we are the link between the patient and the hospital healthcare workers and the doctors. We're able to create that trust, that bond that not many people can, especially in that setting. Now, a session can be quite intimate with just one patient, and we usually work in pairs, the clowns as hospital clowns. But it can also be as involved as a complete ward of patients and their families and the doctors and the nurses. But essentially what we're trying to do is alleviate the pain and suffering and to just make them feel more cheerful, so to speak. We're also trying to give them a sense of control and give them an opportunity through the various tools we use, like music, dance, theater, magic, to give them a chance of expressing themselves emotionally. So what do I mean by when I say giving control back to the patient? To explain this a little bit, let me go back a few months. There was a 6-year-old boy who had just had an open heart surgery, and this was, I think, the second or third post-op day. He was in so much pain that he couldn't eat or drink anything, and when he coughed, it hurt even more. The doctors had given him the maximum dose of painkillers that they could for his body weight. So all his parents could do was just watch him cry in pain and do nothing and feel so helpless about it. So my fellow hospital clown and I, we go in, we're all prepared, we do come prepared with a certain bunch of, things that we can do for them. But this time we decided to twist it a little bit. We started off by telling him a story, where he was the hero. And when he said the magic words, the story moved forward, and he did incredible things. So we made him believe that he had the power to change things. So immediately my partner held his stomach and was just like, oh my God, there's too much pain, I can't handle this pain. Is there anybody who can help me get rid of at least half the pain? So the little boy looked and said, yeah, I can help, I can do something. So he said the magic words, and a light flashed from the fingertip of our thumb, and we pulled the pain out, and we all saw us throw the pain out of the window. And my partner literally went, oh my God, this pain has almost disappeared. Thank you so much, it's because of you. So I looked at the boy and said, now you have done something for someone else. See how powerful you are. Now if you believe you can take away half that pain, don't you think you can do it for yourself? He looked at me and said, yeah, I think I can do it. So all of us together, we had no idea if this was going to work. We all said those magic words together, put that light out, threw the pain out of the window. He turned around and looked at his mom and said, Amma, half of the pain is gone, Amma. The doctor was dumbstruck. He just couldn't believe that something could have happened so quickly. And it happened right before our eyes. So that's what I mean by giving control back to the patient. He felt that he could control the way he felt and what he could do, and that he could control his own body. So what is hospital clowning? Yes, it uses a lot of laughter, but I don't think it's the main thing. I feel it's the byproduct of all the different things we do, and laughter is one of it. There is a form of distraction therapy. What I mean is, for example, if a nurse comes in to put in an IV line, we can immediately distract the child, because I feel that the anticipation of getting the IV line is much more painful than the actual procedure itself. So when we do that, they don't really feel the pain. It's a lot of collaboration, because we need to speak to the doctors and the nurses, first of all, to tell us which patients need us the most and which patients we need to be careful of. And we also need to know when those invasive procedures are being done so that we can be more useful. When we put on that red nose, there is no difference between rich or poor, sick or healthy, doctor or patient. Everyone is the same. Everyone is playing the same game, experiencing it all together. So this form of therapy actually humanizes the hospital staff. So you actually get to look at them for the human beings that they are. And what is even more exciting and really fascinating about this form of therapy is that research has proven that it reduces the amount of painkillers and anesthesia needed for certain procedures. A few years ago in Israel, they conducted a study where there were 3 groups of children. One group was not given any medicine. The second group was given benzodiazepines to reduce the anxiety prior to surgery. And the third group were given 2 hospital clowns to work with them for 30 minutes prior to the surgery. The results were incredible. The group that had the hospital clowns matched the group that had the medication. So the implements is so amazing that we probably don't even need to use medicines and that kind of medicine anymore and don't have to worry about the side effects. And that is how empowering this can be. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. Hospital clown. Who are they? They are professionals. We actually come from backgrounds of theater, music, dance, magic, magicians. But we've also gone through an intensive training to follow the medical and safety protocols so that when we do enter the hospital, we know exactly what we're doing. So sometimes this training can go on for a few weeks, months, or even years. How can you even take me seriously when I look like that? Okay, fine. Let me make it even better. Yeah, so. I am India's first medical doctor who's a certified medical clown. So, yeah. So I do get taken seriously at least half of the time. But what is really incredible about this is that I've been on both sides. I've seen what happens and how it works. But what are the most important skills or things that you need to be a hospital clown? It wasn't the medical degree, I can assure you that. It was definitely my background in theater and the arts that helped me. But I think one of the most important things that you need is empathy. You need to actually imagine what it would be like being in those patients' shoes. Otherwise, how would you know what they're going through and what they would like and what they would want? The other thing is to be able to adapt, to be sensitive to situations, and improvise. Because we'll come in with a set, school of things that we want to do, but no 2 situations are alike, and no 2 patients are the same. And last but not the least, it's about being positive. Can you imagine creating positivity out of such a difficult atmosphere and environment, that is probably the most challenging part. I was very skeptical about if this kind of therapy would work in India when we first started it in 2015. There were 13 of us that got trained by a medical clown from New York. And when we went into the government hospitals, I was terrified thinking that this was just going to fail so miserably. 4 or 5 years down the line, I can tell you it works. It can go to places where medicine and doctors cannot. And I think it's high time, don't you think, that we look at the mental health of a person, especially when you're going to be spending so much time in a place that is filled with this sort of negativity and despair. After all, clowns and doctors are essentially the same. We both want to elevate the possible and to relieve the pain and suffering. And I believe very strongly that hospital clowning needs to be integrated into our healthcare system, where we can become full-time employees, where we can see the patient right from the time they enter the hospital, through the procedures they go through, and then see them safely out. It doesn't have to be a traumatic experience every single time you come to a hospital. After all, laughter is and will always be the best form of medicine. Thank you.